Welcome back, everyone, to the Writer's Parachute. We're guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. In our episode today, we have another very special guest. We have a different flavor for you. We have a creature feature author and a sci-fi fantasy author. It is Daniel Jones. We're going to be talking to him about his two books he has out and the third one coming out called Hydra's Wake, Hydra Tower, and the one coming out is Frost's Wake. We will be talking to him in just a few moments about that. But of course, we want you to smash that like button. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube or whatever podcast channel you prefer. Also, if you could go, please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Writer Parachute. That's Writer Parachute with no S. So let's get on to our topic of the week. As you know, here with season number 2, we have been focusing on reviews. They're king, queen, and joker of authors getting out into the world. If we don't have reviews, we don't get known. So remember to leave a review for any books that you like. So this week, we're talking about ARC reviews. How to use ARC reviews effectively. Now, when we say ARC reviews, we mean advanced reader copies. So these are books that are being given to reviewers between the moment when the book is prepared and ready to go before it is released to the public. That is specifically what they mean about advanced reader copies. These are readers who are getting a copy of the fully published book before it's released to the public. So just so you understand that. So we talked about in other episodes about how to ask for those kinds of reviews, who to go ask for those kind of reviews, where you should focus your attention to get those kinds of reviews. But today we're going to talk about how to use those effectively. So of course, the most effective way to use those is in the front pages of your book. List them in the front pages of your book, so when somebody opens the book, they can see all of these different shortened versions of your advanced reader reviews. Also, you might go to one of these particular reviewers, ask them if they would like to write a foreword for your book, or if they would want to do a book recommendation for you that you can also add there. A lot of times these are also added into the editorial section of your reviews. They're all of some time put up on the author purchase pages right before the book goes public and available to the public. They also go up a lot of times on Goodreads. A lot of times you'll find them on their websites. Those are the typical places that you would use effectively advanced reader copy reviews. But of course, here on the Writer's Parachute, we like to think a little bit outside the box. So think of advanced reader reviews as little sprinkles of joy to help you drip out the anticipation of your book coming out. Think of each one of these little morsels that these gifts are coming to you as advanced reviews that you can drip out to your waiting public to build that anticipation, to build that intrigue, to build that curiosity and need to go either pre-order or buy that book on release date. Those are some of the outside the box things. Also, these are things that you can use on your materials that you're going to be handing out. A lot of people will use them on like character cards. They'll put a particular review on the back about a specific character, about a specific scene with that character, maybe with quotes. Doesn't matter. You can use them on your bookmarks if you're giving out bookmarks, on pens, on any kind of flyers that you're giving out with your book, or in, a lot of times I've seen them where they're inserts that go into the books. These are other ways that you can do that. Going to a book festival, something that you can hand out very easily, gives you a synopsis, gives you a couple of reviews that you got from an advanced reader. And that way they're all ready to go. As soon as that book drops, you have all of these things ready for yourself. Remember, advanced reader copy reviews are a gift. They are a gift to help you market and promote your book before it's released. So make sure to think outside the box. Think about how you can use those to promote and market your book more effectively. So I know that's not exhaustive of that topic, and we could go on and talk about this for more. But if you would like to know more about advanced reader copy reviews and how to use those effectively, of course, you can leave a comment in the show, or you can go ahead and leave us a note on one of our social media accounts, or go to the website, thewritersparachute.com, and let us know there. So let's get on with the show. And we want to talk with Daniel Jones. He's an author writer. He also claims he's an Air Force kid. We're going to talk to him about his 2 books that are out now. The first one is Hydra's Wake, that was out last May. It is a sci-fi adventure. And his most recent one, which is Hydra Tower. And I would say this one is more along the lines of a kind of a creature fantasy story with a monster kind of thing. That's how we kind of talked about it. So Daniel works at Amazon as a problem solver in the warehouse. He grew up as a military kid whose dad was in the Air Force. So he moved all over the world. Daniel has lived in California, United States, Okinawa, Japan, Rotterdam, Germany, New Mexico, in the US, and England, and is currently living in Baltimore, Maryland, with his wonderful wife, a cat, and 3 bearded dragons. He also has a cat. Well, we talked about his cat a minute ago. Daniel is an Eagle Scout who loves the outdoors and often spends his free time visiting zoos, aquariums, and nature parks. Hey, welcome to the Writer's Parachute, Daniel. How are you today?
We are doing fantastic.
So I haven't got to read a whole lot of the book yet, but I'm very curious about it. I kind of got caught up in it's like there's so much to dive into. And so I'm going to start here. Why fantasy, hydras, sorcery? Why are these important topics for you to grab a hold of and tell stories about?
Yeah, so when I wrote Hydra's Wake, it was a very sci-fi action thriller, and it made great use of one of the most underutilized mythical monsters out there. And I ultimately felt that the Hydra was just so good to work with, it needed to have representation in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what sparked this. And in the creation of this story, it's like, okay, this is going to be very heavy swords and sorcery. We're going to basically take a story where there's normally a dragon and put a Hydra in there and show everyone that that can work just as good, if not better.
Awesome. Well, I think you have made me a true believer. So that's important. So I know that there had to be more inspiration to the story besides just putting this particular mythological creature into a story. So what was the specific inspiration for the book Hydra's Tower or Hydra Tower?
So when I was deciding on what route to go with, I was talking with a friend who actually helps with the inspiration of Hydra's Wake, which was born from a Magic the Gathering match. And of course, I was using a Hydra deck, and one thing led to another, and we were talking about how Hydras were underutilized, and I decided that's what I'm going to fix. But when crafting Hydra Tower, I decided that I didn't want it to feel like any other fantasy story that's out there. I wanted to give it something that was or would feel fresh, original, new, and yet be a story that we all know and love.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer came in the form of what we all know as the dragon and princess story. Princess in the tallest tower, protected by a dragon, knight in shining armor, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that story is ancient. It goes all the way back to Greek mythology with Medusa and such. So it felt appropriate to put a Hydra in there, and I decided to take it a step further to make it feel a lot more original, because that story's been told thousands of times over thousands of years.
Mhm,
Let's flip the script for once.
mhm.
And we put the prince in the enchanted tower, and we're going to have the princess do
Wow.
all the superhero work, uh, save the kingdom, slay the Hydra, rescue the prince. All great stuff.
Well, it's amazing. And I also noticed that, in Hydra's wake, it's more of a fast moving kind of the creature is the feature of the story, and everybody's just kind of moving around and dealing with it. But in this Hydra Tower, it's more of a story. And yes, the Hydra is the bad guy, but you don't get to that till a really far in. You get to hear about all the people and what's going on with them and figure out who's going to do what and how this is going to actually. So it's more of a story with a creature, which was different than Hydra's Tower or Hydra's Wake, which was more about the creature.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely was a thing where I spent so much of Hydra's Wake making it like a 80s creature feature film.
Mhm.
Um, it was, and it did that extremely well. It
Yes.
is definitely something that a lot of people are excited about. And I just wanted to kind of experiment with switching gears as a writer. So I wanted to, rather than make it a plot driven narrative, a character driven narrative. And we focus around three wonderful heroines who are legends in their own right. Uh, Two of them have been around, one of them has already saved the world in her time, and the third one, Princess Lavina, is who we spend the most time with. She is up and coming, carving her own legend and doing some really awesome stuff along the way.
Well, that sounds amazing. So, what is it that you hope that readers will get from both Hydra Tower and Hydra's Wake?
So Hydra's Wake was designed for one purpose, and that was to be straight up entertainment. And it really doesn't have much of a, I guess, a narrative point to it,
Mhm.
except if you're a fan of the creature feature films, I mean, this is just another really amazing adventure for you to enjoy. And the result is up there with the best. Aliens, Predator, Tremors, a bit of Godzilla there. Yeah, Hydra's Wake did the job. Um, and that's also a bit of a gear switch with Hydra Tower. Is it's a high fantasy swords and sorcery story, and it challenges some of the male dominance narrative that comes in that territory. And some of the things that were important to me while I was writing Hydra Tower were to basically treat these three protagonist women with the same kind of treatment like 80s action stars would get.
Mhm.
They are the center, they don't have weaknesses that are exploited. They are there to just troll like a video game and kick everyone in the teeth.
Ah,
So,
nice. I love empowered women, and we love that you are empowering women as the main characters in this book. That is amazing. So, I want to know if you could go all the way back to the beginning when you first started writing
yep.
and publishing your books. What do you wish someone had told you or that you wish you already knew?
Um, Not to, I guess the thing that I would say is not to let the extra things that come with growing up stop you.
Mhm.
Because I started at a rather young age, moving around all the time. As a military brat, you look for things that are constant, regardless of where you move, to kind of attach and focus onto. And that became like pop culture things and toys, Super Soakers, Lego, Magic the Gathering, topics like Power Rangers, dinosaurs. Those were the kinds of things that got me through my childhood. And my creativity spark actually started with Dinotopia.
Mhm.
The illustrations and the story, it was just a book that sparked the imagination in me. And in middle school, it's what prompted me to write my first actual story without it being an assignment.
Right.
That's where it all started. And at that point, if someone told me that growing up comes with a lot of things that will tear you in different ways, and if you find the balance to not let that stop you from writing,
Mhm.
um, that would probably be what I say is
Mhm.
you're going to get pulled apart in 20 different ways that you didn't even realize,
Mhm. Yeah.
but make sure you find the time to just keep at it. It will come.
Right. And that's even true for, those of us who've been adults for a very long time. It's like there's always interruptions, and it is one of the hard transitions, when we get into adulthood, is it looks so easy from the outside, but
Yeah.
we all know on the inside it's like there's a gazillion things you do in a day. And to reach that creative space takes a lot of internal and brain work that needs focus. And as an adult, we don't always get that time handed to us. So we have to find like little pockets and moments. And yes, it does affect our creativity. It's like I love recommending The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, because she
Yep.
talks about how to get to that creative space quickly so that you can use the most of your time. And I think that's uh, that's something that we as adults, we have to relearn, because kids are, they stay in that creative space a lot. A lot of what they do is being creative and thinking creatively, but then as we get adults and the responsibilities pile on, it's like we stop
Yep.
that creative thinking. So yeah, it is something, but I do appreciate that you did stick with it. And I think that makes some of the great writers is, sticking with it and kind of overcoming. But yeah, it's like everybody can write. You just have to find those pockets of time and figure out a way to get yourself there. So I want to know what you think readers are going to think of your two books in 10 or 20 years from now.
Hopefully that's where it started. It's going to be what they think. I mean, this is how I'm starting, and in 10, 20 years, if I'm still around, I'm going to be pumping stories out. So hopefully these two will be the um, mark of, okay, these are the OGs. This is where it all started. And in 10, 20 years, that's kind of how I'd like it to be seen is readers will look at these two and go, okay,
Mhm.
this is how it, this was where it all started.
That's amazing. So you plan to be a legend in this category. Well,
Oh,
that's
yes.
great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not an unachievable goal. I think you're well on your way. So, what obstacles or challenges or issues did you have in trying to write or publish either one of these books?
So for this, I'll start with Hydra's Wake.
Mhm.
Um, as with every aspiring author at that stage, you finished your book, did the research on how to get it going and such, and then you get to the query letter because of the legend of traditional publishing. And you go through that battle, you go through that war, and I actually managed to find an agent who was fantastic.
Mhm.
Um, Ultimately, she was unable to sell the manuscript to publishing houses, but everything else about what she provided me to make sure that the novel stood a chance was fantastic. When it became clear that Hydra's Wake was stuck, She told me that it was a fantastic novel and that it deserved to see the light of day. And she gave me really all the resources I needed to go step by step in going from manuscript to self-publishing. And I did give it a shot with trying to query a few other agents, but eventually it was like, okay, there's there's a time when it just needs to come out.
Right.
And with a pandemic and everything going on, it was like, okay, you know what? Maybe let's give this a go. And found an editor, found a cover artist, and saved up for those, made it happen. And here we are with this absolutely fantastic looking art and a story that matches the hype. With Hydra Tower, I learned a whole lot actually doing the process with Hydra's Wake, and I applied that into a system. So from here on out, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do and in what order and the stages of it, so that every release I do going forward is going to be a lot smoother.
Right.
But I will say that with Hydra Tower, I wanted to find a editor who was much more familiar with the material than the editor for Hydra's Wake. And my writing style, I mean, it's not that the editor for Hydra's Wake was a bad editor, they just weren't the right fit, I think, for the project after the fact. And that's just kind of one of those things you learn as you go. And I took a little bit more time finding the right editor for Hydra Tower, and I think we've got a great fit.
Right. Well, and this is a common thing that I hear a lot from especially new authors and self-published authors, because they think that they're trying to find a editor, as in any editor will work. And that's not necessarily true. I'm an editor myself, but I am not the perfect editor for everyone. There are different styles of editors. Some of them are very gentle with their authors, some of them are very strict with their authors, some of them have a lot of notes, some of them are just critical about punctuation and grammar, and some of them are more about the aspects of the story and challenging certain things that are outside the box, that sort of thing. So but when it comes down to it, especially when you're specializing in certain genres, if you are writing romance, if you're writing sci-fi, if you're writing fantasy, if you're writing thrillers or something, these require authors who are familiar with those genres, because they have their own kind of style and rhythm and language and layout. And if you're just going with any editor, it's not going to work. You're going to feel that frustration, because the things that they're going to be picking on, it may be critical to the story and the style of the story that they may not be aware of, because again, they don't specialize in that particular genre. So so when you're looking for an editor, I would strongly suggest you look for editors specific to the genre that you're writing. And because just not any editor will always work. and it ends up frustrating both of you. So I'm glad that you were able to share that with us. So what advice do you think that you would give to other authors and writers?
So for those of you who are aspiring, my advice is never give up. This is a tough industry. It is it's not a super social industry. I mean, a lot of the work that we do as writers is solitary. We are pretty much on our own, and it feels like it when we get down into the steps to get out there, publish, market, and all that. But there are resources. There is an enormous community of support, there are networks upon networks of people who will help with just about every aspect of this process, from conceptualizing to writing to revising to editing to the query lettering, if you want to go the traditional path, to finding cover artists, editors, and marketing strategies, release strategies. It's all there. So the rest is on you. You do have to push through to get that story written. You do have to push through to get the revisions done. And that's a slog. Never give up. And the querying phase, that's a war in and all of itself. I mean, the heartache of reading rejection after rejection after rejection, it just goes on. Like Hydra's Wake had over 100 rejections before it succeeded. And then I guess what I wasn't prepared for was that a literary agent might not succeed in repeating that process, because getting an agent, as I've learned, is only the halfway point. They get to do the same thing you just did.
Right.
And it's like,
yes. Well, and we do talk about this, number one, I'm going to talk about the first part. Writing is a very isolating, lonely business. It's mostly you and your mind conjuring up stories. Even if you're writing nonfiction, it's still you taking the facts and making them into, an acceptable story, so to speak, about those facts.
Yep.
So it's very lonely and isolating, and it is just you and your brain. But fortunately, there are many groups out there. There's different writing groups, there's different writing genre groups, but there's also general writing groups. I myself host 2 writing groups a week that, any author at any stage is welcome to join. And, we do it online, and we just kind of have writing time, and we talk about, issues and problems, and kind of see if we can't, help. If, somebody needs help, it isn't always there, but, it's nice to know that you have that, and it works well as kind of an accountability thing, because those people are waiting for you to be there, so it gets you up and gets you writing, and and showing up. It's an appointment on my calendar, in my schedule every week to go do that and get some writing done. And it does help, and it kind of creates a community of writers. Even though we're not writing the same thing, we're all there with the same purpose, and it does really help. And then I want to talk a little bit about what you're talking about, this querying and going after traditional publishers. You go through the querying process, and with most people, you don't understand what that means. That basically means you're writing letters out to literary agents going, you know what, I wrote this book. Here's what about. Wouldn't you love to hire me? Wouldn't you love to be my agent and get me a traditional publishing deal? And it takes a long time. And it's like, I love Stephen King's take on this. He's like, when I ran out of room on the big nail on the wall, I went and got a railroad spike for all of my rejection letters. And it's like, and you think about that, it's like, if Stephen King got that many rejection letters, it's like, wow, how many am I going to get? Yeah. And there's 2 ways to look at that. Yes, it can be extraordinarily negative, but I like his take on it. He doesn't mind it, because every one of those no's means he's closer to yes.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what you have to focus on. And yes, it is a long, hard slog. I've not heard too many authors that get an agent in under a year. Usually it's about 18 months, and then it's usually another year to 18 months before they find you a publisher and actually get your book published. So yes, it is a long, hard slog, but it is not without its rewards. If you're willing, it's like everything else, you have to be willing to put in that much time and effort into it. But then again, there's nothing wrong with being a self-published author, and it has its rewards, because you are fully in control of your book, but you are also fully responsible for your book. So yeah, there's two avenues to go here, and both are great. You just, as I think you were saying, which was kind of your point, is you have to commit to that. And I know it's hard and I know it's difficult, but there are always, as you said, a giant community just waiting to catch you when you need to be propped back up.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to learn, especially if you go the self-publishing route. So many skill sets you may not think about that you have to pick up.
Mhm.
And a lot of that comes in the form of marketing and advertising. Taking it seriously as a business
Mhm.
rather than a hobby is one of the stronger ways, I think, to success.
Mhm.
And kind of treating it like yet another job
Right.
um, is a good way to compartmentalize it, or at least for me it was.
Mhm.
I mean, a great example is Hydra's Wake is just over a year old and it's already sold over 1,000 copies. So
Yay.
it has done a lot better than I expected it, a lot better than I thought it would. And it really is that, like, the persistence, the taking the time to learn these things in a way that allows you to progress and advance. You're always going to learn something.
Right. Well, and I find it, unusual for me because I guess I learned really early on that part of the issue that I see a lot of times with people that have problems with marketing and promotion is that they don't know where they're going first. They're just like going, oh, there's a promotion opportunity. What do I want out of it? I don't know, but let's go grab it. It's a balloon. It may float away. And so they're constantly disappointed because they had no plan where they were going. And when it drops them off in Iowa, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't want to go to Iowa. It's
Yeah,
like, well, maybe you should have grabbed that balloon. And so it's like I tell people, if you're having problems with marketing and promotion, figure out what you want first and then style the marketing and promotion to what you want. Because it
yeah,
will be more effective that way. It's like I think this is part of where we see the frustration of
yeah,
authors, especially that just like, oh, I can't do them. I just struggle so much. And it's like, well, figure out what you want first before you go catching balloons, because yeah, we don't
yeah.
we don't want to end up in Kansas somewhere.
Yeah, you got to take the blindfold off and stop throwing darts in the dark. You got
Mhm.
to map it out at least a little bit, plan it
Yeah,
like a road trip.
right.
And um, like for me, some of my most effective marketing strategies are times when I will take a shirt that has the Hydra's Wake logo and cover art on it. I'll go out into the Baltimore Inner Harbor with a bunch of business cards that have a QR code to the Amazon page.
Hmm.
I'll just say to people, hey, do you like to read?
Hmm.
And just kind of start conversations with folks and be like, here, have a business card. It leads to my Amazon book link.
Hmm.
Um, Pick up my book. I'm a local author.
Hmm. There you go.
And it's effective. It's alarmingly effective.
Well, and I'm going to up your game just a little bit more. I have my QR code on my phone, so we can just scan phone to phone, and I don't have to carry anything but my phone, which I always have with me anyway. So,
I would if it wasn't Baltimore.
well, yeah, I suppose, but I mean, I just use mine as my screensaver, my QR code, so I don't have to even actually open it. So, you find ways to do that. They
Oh
also
yeah.
have like a single card that you could do with a QR code, but people just scan it, so which is nice. So that's cool. I'm very impressed. So thanks for that tip. So we want to know what keeps you motivated.
I am a storyteller at heart. I love just creating worlds and such. And for me, staying inspired, staying motivated just kind of comes naturally. I can't really explain that aspect of it. It just, I'm one of those people. I will never run out of ideas. I will never run out of energy. I am never done.
Yeah, I think you're a lot like me, where it's like my characters and my stories don't let me sleep if I don't write their story.
A little bit. And
It's
then
like I
they'll
never
come.
run out of stories because they just won't let me sleep. It's just like, okay, I'm up. Let me tell your story so you can leave me alone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was definitely that way with Hydra's Wake.
Right. Well, I'm glad to know that, and we love storytellers here on the Writer's Parachute. So, as you are well aware, we've been focusing season 2 on writing reviews and different kinds of reviews and how to promote authors and writers with reviews. So we want you to write a review for Hydra's Tower.
Hydra Tower is an innovative take on a timeless classic. The Kingdom of Grayson is in trouble as the Hydra has attacked the castle and trapped the prince inside. Some of the enemies of the country are looking to invade and take over while the king is in a weakened state. But thankfully, those who are willing to defend it are ready. So we've got the warrior princess, we've got a super sorceress, we've got a ninja pirate legend, and all three women are just absolutely fantastic to follow. We've got three very diverse stories with very different motivations coming together for this really fantastic action packed adventure. Um, One of the things that I like about Hydra Tower is that it includes a lot of diversity from all over the world. We've got monsters like the Hydra. We've got the Groot slang from South African mythology. We've got several other surprises inside that really just keep this whole swords and sorcery thing going. It's an absolutely fun read for anyone looking for a fresh, expansive take on a story that you will almost immediately recognize as soon as it comes.
All right. Well, that sounds like a fantastic review. 5 stars. And part of the reason that we're putting our authors on the spot on the Writer's Parachute is we want to show the listeners and readers and other authors and writers how easy it is to write a review. We want to encourage you to write reviews. We want to encourage you to support authors and writers in the books that you know and love, to go and write reviews. The reviews help them immensely. They help them to get their books out to other readers. They also help them to get on podcasts. They help them to get any kind of media and promotion opportunities. So reviews don't have to be difficult. It could be something simply as I love this book, or I think this book would be great for whatever you want to write. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't even have to be eloquent. It could be something short and sweet and to the point, or it could be a half of a novel if you'd like. But we do encourage you to go ahead and write a review. If you don't know where to put your review, you can always go to Goodreads. You can find the authors and the books on Goodreads and leave a review there. You can go to Amazon if that's where you purchase the book and leave your review there, or any book marketing platform where you purchase your book, even if it is an ebook format, and leave your review. Those are always available. If not, you can always go to the social media for the author that you love or their website, and they would be more than happy to let you post your review there. So next time you read a book, next time you love a book, make sure you leave a review. So what is next? We know we have Frostwake coming up this fall, but what happens after that?
So, yeah, Frost Wake is the direct follow up to Hydra's Wake. Um, we get to explore a whole new biome. We get to explore some wild new creatures. And we get to put some of the survivors through their paces yet again.
Awesome. I love when those return characters get to put them in more distress. I always find that it's fun to, when people ask me, they're like, well, how far should I put I'm like, okay, So take your character, put them in the most extreme situation you can possibly imagine, take it to the ridiculous point, and then come back 3 steps and you're perfect.
Yeah, and that really is what the Wake series is all about. I mean, the protagonist, he wakes up to a crash site. He's got a sadistic torturer who has confused him with an actual spy. He finds that out eventually, and so on. But either way, he's been shot down over a Hydra's territory, so he's got this kaiju-sized four-headed Hydra with a paranormal trans-dimensional hunting mechanism going after him, on top of well-armed, well-equipped, and highly competent bad guys coming after him. So it made for one heck of a story.
Well,
And
yeah, that is the proverbial rock and hard place, isn't it?
yep. And Frostwake, I've got a whole new villain who makes the already perfectly hateable Lord Albert Richtoff seem very tame.
Oh.
I've actually had to scale my new villain back a lot because of alpha readers. She will terrify a lot of people just based on how disregarding of human life, of all life, really, she is. I will spoil one thing, though, and that is with the Wake series, the good guys aren't always going to win the situation. And Frostwake is going to take us on a situation where, yeah, there are survivors. That's about as good as it got.
Well, that's a lot of times what happens in series. It's like not everybody gets what they want, but see, there's more to this story. And
yeah.
And I love that again you're bringing us a female lead in this time in the idea of the the bad guys. So that's always going to be fun. And oftentimes what I will say when people are hesitant about how bad their bad guy is, it's maybe just because you haven't set up their motivation well enough. Because that's the thing about bad guys, they can completely justify why they do what they do.
Oh yeah, Lord Albert is a perfect example of someone who is pure friggin' evil. And like, he's a sadistic torturer, he's an information gatherer, trader. Basically, his job is torture people, get information, sell it to highest bidder kind of thing. Right. And it's done well for him. He's got a really great lavish lifestyle. And in his older age, he's just going down the list of I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person, and I'm taking care of them all.
Right.
Until he shoots down one wrong person.
Right. Well, yes, there's always somebody worse, isn't there?
Oh yes. And like just the way he justifies his actions, I mean, he had a method to his madness, and it's conceivable to understand, even though absolutely no one would actually agree with it. And it is really done.
Humans do not operate on logic.
No.
So, I mean, there is some of that. So we know that the Frost Week is coming out in fall of this year. Do we have an actual date on that yet?
Ever since I picked up a second full-time job, it's been a little. We're kicking back a little bit potentially. We're going to see how the revisions come out. That's where it's at right now, is in the revision stage.
Okay. And then what's going to be beyond Frost Week? I'm sure you have something else cooked up behind it.
I do. So my next standalone novel will be called Manticore Trails. And that's actually a really exciting project that I've got coming down the pipes.
Okay.
So it's going to be kind of a steampunk adventure. Going to delve into that a little more. and it's going to be a whole new world, whole new thing, and it's going to be really kind of like a archaeology based exploration. This new project will not have an antagonist. So we've got two top of the game scientists,
Mhm.
and I'm basing them off of a rivalry from real world paleontology. Back in the 1800s, there were two paleontologists that
Mhm.
absolutely hated each other. They both made amazing discoveries.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can pull their names up real quick because um, this is such a fascinating thing just to know.
Well, that would be amazing, and it sounds like it would be a great book. So we're hoping. So we're looking at that maybe sometime in 2024.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, we've got two scientists that are super rivals. They have very different takes on how to go about studying this whole ancient civilization that they're going for. They take two very different paths, but when they get to the civilization, um, it's going to be very well defended by the wildlife that
Mhm.
has basically lived there for a while. So we're going to get to play around with a little bit of genetic manipulation here. Manticores are a mixture of several different animals.
Mhm.
So we're going to get to have a lot of fun with that. There's going to be a lot of carnage. There's going to be a lot of extreme survival situation here. It's going to basically be a whole bunch of um, people who are not quite equipped for that scenario to
Oh no.
go through this really insane situation.
Oh.
And the question will be, will these guys manage to work together,
Mhm.
or are they going to try and be the only one to come
Mhm.
out of it and say, hey, I found this place? um,
Fun,
yeah,
fun. It sounds like it should be interesting. So, where can listeners find your books? You did say that it's up on Amazon. Is it distributed worldwide or just on Amazon?
it is currently only on Amazon. I have Hydra's Wake and Hydra Tower in expanded distributions. So
Okay.
in theory, they are available a little more wider than
Okay. Okay,
um,
well, we will check. And of course, don't run out and grab a pen and paper. We will include all the links to everything in the show notes for you.
yep.
Also, I know you're on social media. So can you let us know what platforms that you're on? And we'll, of course, add those links to your social media into the show notes.
Yeah, so I'm available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. Um, I technically have a Pinterest account, but I haven't really touched it in a while.
No
And
TikTok?
not yet.
Yeah.
That is coming.
Okay.
And I am also on Mastodon as well.
Okay. I've not used Mastodon, so we'll definitely add those links for you. So I'll have to go check it out. All right. So we want to know if you have any events or any other information you'd like to share with the audience before we go do our tip of the week.
Yeah, so Hydra Tower is, I've got two big announcements for Hydra Tower.
Okay.
So, um, you'll notice at the bottom of this copy here, it says large formats.
Mhm.
This is a large print version of Hydra Tower that you can get on Amazon.
Woohoo.
That's awesome. Yeah, just a size comparison here.
Mhm.
The, the hardcover to the, yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
Nice, big, very easy to read.
Yes.
And the regular version of Hydra Tower is on a summer sale from now until August 31st. The ebook, which is normally $4.99, is on sale for 99 cents. The paperback is on sale for $9.99 as compared to $15.99. And the hardcover is on sale for $15.99 as compared to $22.99. So
Yay!
great deals there. If you are interested in the print copies or the ebook, grab it this summer because I will not be doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. All right, so
But
we will do that. Thank you. And let's go ahead and jump over to our tip of the week. So we talked to Daniel a little bit about the different things that he ran into. And one of the things he talked about was editors. And we talked a little bit at that point about trying to find the right editor for you, not just any editor. But I want you to think about the style of writing you're doing, because again, we talked in the green room before we started the show today about, the pacing. It's like sometimes the length of the book and the style of the book, especially if you're working in fantasy and thriller, it really needs to be fast moving because they are longer books. And to keep the attention of somebody that has a nanosecond, I mean, we all have really short attention spans and a lot of things distracting us. I mean, we really have to keep those pages turning, and that means very quick, fast action. So you really need to think about these things that are critical to your book, that are going to make it important for you to decide if the editor is right for you. But we also talk about this, and I've mentioned it in other episodes. It's like your editor is somebody that you're hiring to advise you and help you. It is your book in the end. I feel like as an editor, half the time my job is to point out times when you're going outside of the box, or you go outside the lines, or maybe pushing the envelope a little too much. And I'm questioning you, not because I don't believe in you, but I want to make sure that you have the fortitude that's going to stand with you. And we talked about this in the green room about, somebody in the back when you're at a book signing or a speaking event, and somebody's going, but on page 247, you said, and so it's like a lot of times that's what editors do, is we're pointing out these points in your book that may be challenging or maybe an issue, so that you are prepared for those. And those are some of the things that you need to. So I would say when you're looking for the editor for you, not a editor, looking for the editor for you in your book, make a list of the important things to your book and to your genre. And think about the things that sets you outside of the norm that maybe you're going to want to discuss with them to make sure that they understand. I had a situation where I was working with an editor who was from out of the country, and one of the questions was, did they do American novels? Because most people don't realize it, but there's certain slang terms that are particularly American. I mean, you would know that, you travel around the country, around the world, but there are certain particular slangs and phrasing and things that are particular to the United States versus the UK and other European countries. And so it is important, if you're writing in the United States, that you want somebody that's familiar with those kind of colloquialisms, phrasing and quips and slang terms, because there's different ones in other countries. And so this person was assured that this editor did know what they were doing, and come to find out they did not. And so it was really a really communication issue, trying to get the person that was not from the United States to understand United States slang and colloquialisms, which is very frustrating. So these are some of the things I want you guys to think about when you're looking for the editor for you in your book. So, and as you go along as a writer, you're going to be expanding. You may, as with Daniel, he's actually working in some similar genres, but they are all particularly different. Fantasy is going to be slightly different than sci-fi adventure. And then this steampunk adventure, that's going to be slightly different. Although they are very similar, they have very unique things to them. So As you expand your repertoire and you're going into different styles of writing, even you need to maybe switch editors. Maybe the editor that you are using for the book currently may not be the right one for the next one. So I want you to think about that and think about finding an editor that works for you, because at the end of the day, it's your book, it's representing you. You want it to be the best it can be. So I'm going to climb down off my soapbox right now and let you guys go. Of course, there's plenty more things that we could talk about editors and about finding editors. And if you would like to know more on the topic or the tip of the week, please be sure to let us know. And we want to make sure that we thank Daniel for being with us today. And I do encourage you guys to go out and check out his 2 books that are out now. It's Hydra's Wake. It is a sci-fi adventure. And also the standalone Hydra Tower, which is a fantasy thriller, I think is what you said. Fantasy thriller with kind of sword and sorcery. And then and of course, when we're going to ask Daniel to come back when he has Frost Wake, and maybe we'll catch him before he has this Manicore trips. Is that what it was? Trips?
Trails.
Trails. I knew I wrote it down wrong. I scribbled too fast. I can't read my own writing.
It's all good.
Well, we're so thankful that Daniel was here with us today. And as always, I am so glad to be the host here on the Writer's Parachute, guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. And we hope that you always find this a safe, creative space for all of your dreams to land as well. Until next time, bye.